Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. It is match day once again in the Premier League. Everton versus Chelsea. Late kickoff, 8 PM at Goodison Park, with a chance for Chelsea to get back towards the top of the Premier League table, or for the meantime to actually get top of the league again. I always think it's good when Chelsea play first on the weekend because it puts the pressure on the teams that go below us as a result of our results. If we can try and hit 4,500 likes on this match preview before the game kicks off, I'll be a happy man. Don't really know what that'll do for you guys, but it supports the channel, so you'd be a bunch of legends. And if you're not yet subscribed to GBFC, I'd love to ask you to do so. 6 Things We Learned will be out after the game tonight, which is my match review series. And also, if you want Yes Guys more in your life, then GBFC 2, my second channel, where there's also daily videos now, is linked in the description. Everton. Now, it's been an interesting season so far for Everton. They started it incredibly well until they went to Anfield and were reminded about the fact that they can't win every single match in the Premier League. I believe it was a draw. Since then, it's all kind of deteriorated for Everton. They've not been in the best of form, and this is probably the perfect time for Chelsea to be making this trip. Everton have only won 1 of their last 5, and they've also got quite a few players out for this one. James Rodriguez has been ruled out, Seamus Coleman is out, Luca Digne is out, and the good news for Chelsea is despite having both Callum Hudson-Odoi and Hakim Ziyech injured on the wings, it gives a chance for Chelsea's wingers to really put a stamp on this game. I feel as though with Chelsea's form, 17 unbeaten, we're in a wonderful run right now, and there probably isn't a better opportunity to go to Goodison Park, make the most of them having injuries and players not available, and getting a result to put us back at the top of the Premier League table. As for Chelsea, there isn't any additional injury news other than the Hudson-Odoi and Hakim Ziyech injury, which is a bit frustrating because it's a double blow in the same position. And there's also a slight worry that Lampard has about Christian Pulisic, who once again picked up a little hamstring strain in training, but he has been training before this game as well, so it didn't look like it was something serious. But I do want to spend a moment or two talking about the potential injury worries that we still have with Christian Pulisic. It seems like hamstring injuries are something that have been plaguing him throughout his entire young career. And it is worrying that even through training, he's still picking up little problems with this hamstring. And I feel as though today, if Pulisic makes it through the game, it would be worthy of a green box in itself, whether Chelsea win 5-0 or lose 5-0 tonight, because Pulisic just always seems susceptible to an injury. And the more I hear about little things happening in training or worries that Lampard might have, the more as a fan I worry about how he's going to develop, because we know how good of a player he is, we know how important he is when he's on form. But he is available tonight, and Lampard says he is ready. But without any further ado, we don't start with the left wingers in the match previews, as you guys know. We start with the goalkeeper, and it is the ever-present Edu Mendy. Kepa played in goal in midweek. You think he had like 1 save to make and he conceded a goal, but it was probably the most dead game of football that I've ever seen from Chelsea because it didn't mean anything against Krasnodar. And of course, the 6 Things We Learned was nowhere near as popular as normal either. So it was the kind of resultant game where nothing was really that important. Mendy keeps his place in goal. He's been brilliant, and I think even Manuel Neuer, who's come out this week and said that there are plenty of world-class goalkeepers in the world right now, and he even singled out Chelsea's Edouard Mendy as one of those. And when Manuel Neuer gives you that kind of praise, it deserves reiterating here on the George Benson football channel. We move into the right back, and a right back who I think right now would be taken by any side in the Premier League. Liverpool might have to toss a coin between Trent and Reece James, but Reece James is probably right now the informed right back in the Premier League. He's been brilliant in recent weeks. Azpilicueta got the start on Tuesday night against Krasnodar, but Reece James has been the ever-present recently in the Premier League, stopping Azpilicueta from playing. But it's a case of we know what we get with Reece, and I think today Chelsea's game plan needs to be to exploit Everton's fullbacks. And I think with Luca Digne not being in the side, it's the perfect opportunity to see a link up between whoever the right winger is, we'll get into that in a moment, and Reece James bombing forward as well. I'm hoping to see at least an assist from Reece today and a solid defensive display again. We move into the wonderful, majestic centre-back partnership of Thiago Silva and Kurt Zouma. There's been a lot of discussions this week here on GBFC. If you haven't seen the tier list video that I recorded with Eunice, you should definitely go and check it out if you're bored on your weekend because of lockdown or whatever, wherever you are in the world. 30 minutes of us discussing potential Chelsea January transfers. We did mention quite a few centre-backs during that. However, Thiago Silva and Kurt Zouma have been in such good form in recent weeks. Chelsea's defence looks so assured now at the back, with two ball-playing centre-halves who are always looking. Zouma's looking for that long diagonal. Thiago Silva's looking for that whipped pass along the floor to cut between the lines, between the midfield. And probably today against the Everton midfield 3, matching up against the Chelsea midfield 3, there could be some opportunities for some chance-creating passes going forward from our Brazilian centre-back Thiago Silva. We move into a player that was nominated for November Player of the Month. He didn't quite manage to get it, but Ben Chilwell has been in fantastic form. Emerson came in on Tuesday night, and it wasn't the worst performance in the world from Emerson, but when I keep mentioning my Chelsea starting 11 here today, compared to all of the changes that we made on Tuesday night, despite Chelsea never really having to enter any gear of real intensity in that game against Krasnodar, I think we can see now that although we can field multiple different players across all of the positions on the pitch, there is a massive gulf in class, in my view, between Ben Chilwell and Emerson in the Chelsea left-back role. I don't always like to, justify my decisions by comparing the player to the other available options, but with Chilwell, we have a player who is, I think, very smart in terms of the way he goes forward and still gets his defensive duties ticked. Ben Chilwell, going forward on the left, has given us the chance to actually see somebody get to the byline, put in good crosses, be very smart with how he progresses the play in the final third. It's not always just run to the byline and try and get in a cross. He's very good at cutting it back, passing it to either a Mason Mount or one of the centre-backs if we're really that far forward. Chilwell's been magnificent, and we move into a midfield 3. Now, because of injuries, it kind of makes this one a bit easier at the moment, considering we don't have that many options on the right wing. Kai Havertz has come out and said to Frank Lampard that he's happy and wants to give it a go playing on the right wing, which does give us the opportunity to see the midfield maestro 3 of N'Golo Kante, Mason Mount and Mateo Kovacic. Mateo Kovacic went to Goodison Park last season and scored his first Premier League goal. I have really seen a big development in Kovacic's game, particularly this season when he's been given the minutes in that number 8 role. There's a lot more freedom, and I think as Chelsea players go when it comes to ball progression, Mateo Kovacic, I think, is our best player in that kind of role. When he's got the ball at his feet, carrying it forward, his passing's becoming a lot more accurate. He's been, sometimes he does the crazy shot that goes into row Z, and we just wonder if he's ever going to score another Premier League goal again. But I believe Mateo Kovacic's performances since he came into the team in the number 8 role have been excellent. Mason Mount, we all know how important he is to this Chelsea side. We saw when he wasn't involved in the game against Krasnodar that we did lack a bit of intensity sometimes in midfield. Mason Mount brings that energy, and I feel as though he's developing more of a killer instinct when it comes to making decisive passes in the final third. And N'Golo Kante, he's come in for a load of praise this week across all of social media. A lot of people, including myself, I'm not going to say that I've not slated Kante over the past 12 months, because I did, but I also was very clear didn't arrange anything really, did I? I was clear to discuss that it was a lot down to injuries and not having enough recovery time. Chelsea didn't have the kind of strength and depth last season as we do now, so since the summer, Kante's had an opportunity to really rejuvenate as a player and regather that kind of form and energy that we've seen from him over the years that made him one of the best holding midfielders in the world. So with that midfield 3, up against the very strong Everton midfield 3, you've got Decore in there, you've also got Allen in there. They don't have the creativity today of James Rodriguez, but it's still a very physical Everton midfield. It's not going to be an easy trip, this one, against the Carlo Ancelotti side, former Chelsea manager, double winning manager at the Blues, one of my personal favourites from Chelsea managers over the Abramovich era. But I believe that midfield 3 will have more than enough to control the game and dominate for Chelsea. We move into a front 3, going from right to left, of Kai Havertz, Timo Werner and Christian Pulisic. I think with the situation that we have, with Everton's 2 first-choice fullbacks being out of the game, we need to go with 2 natural wingers, although Havertz isn't a natural winger. I've said that wrong, but the best options in a winger position, Havertz is the one, with Hudson-Odoi and Ziyech being out, and we know how good Christian Pulisic is. There might be an argument that Pulisic starts on the right, Werner on the left, and we keep with Olivier Giroud as the striker, but I think, again, it would be wasting the opportunity to play Pulisic in his natural favoured position. And I think with Havertz at the moment, particularly with how good the midfield three is of both Mount, Kovacic and Kante, trying out Havertz on the right wing isn't the worst idea at all. If he can get more minutes in this position, gathering confidence, start to understand what his role would be on that right-hand side more, then again, it makes him more of that kind of versatile utility player that can be used in various positions depending on squad fitness, injuries and so forth. So, Havertz starting on the right. I really hope this is a big game for him. I thought he was good in the game against Krasnodar. It never really went above good. If he'd have scored that chance he had just before he was substituted, it would have been a very, very good game for Kai Havertz. It'd have won it for Chelsea, but I believe in his abilities, and I think on the right-hand side today, against the makeshift Everton defence, it could be a fruitful one for Mr. Kai. Now, as for the subs bench, with no Hudson-Odoi or Hakim Ziyech available, there is a little bit of creativity lacking on the bench for Chelsea, but we do have the two striking options of Tammy Abraham and Olivier Giroud. I'm very worried about the potential injury for Christian Pulisic. I'm hoping that he can get through the majority of the game. If Chelsea are in a position, luckily, where we've won the game by about 70 minutes, we could put Werner back on the left wing, bring on Olivier Giroud, and maybe try and nick a couple more goals from the elite world-class striker. Considering he scored last weekend in the game against Leeds, it was very difficult for me to actually omit him from the side, the starting 11 today. However, with Pulisic back fit and supposedly ready to go, against the two fullbacks that Everton will have today, I think it would be a missed opportunity if we didn't give Christian Pulisic that chance to start again in his favoured role. He got on the score sheet last week against Leeds. It's time for him to start building his confidence again, getting minutes from the start, and hopefully Chelsea can go on and get the 3 points. If you haven't already seen the Premier League predictions for match week 12 that was posted over on GBFC 2 yesterday, if you saw that, you will already know my score prediction for this game, but I think it's going to be a close one. Despite Everton's form, this is always a tricky fixture for Chelsea to go to Goodison Park. I remember going up there one season for the worst 0-0 draw in the world. The highlight of that trip was definitely the Starbucks on the way there and the way back, and I don't even like Starbucks, so that just shows how good that day was. However, I think Chelsea's form is absolutely brilliant. Ben Chilwell came out and said something along the lines of, at the moment, we feel like we can't lose, which is a wonderful mentality to have. It's a late kickoff as well. There's none of this early kickoff, trip to Merseyside rubbish that kind of kills these games sometimes. Big opportunity for Chelsea to go back to the top of the table, and I think we'll come away with a 2-1 win. Dominic Calvert-Lewin to score for Everton, and the Chelsea goals, Christian Pulisic and N'Golo Kante. Today I just feel like he's going to nick one, and hopefully it's the winner. But anyway, thank you guys for watching this Chelsea versus Everton preview at Goodison Park. If you did enjoy it, as always with this series, I would love to see how many likes we can get before kickoff. So let's see if we can go for 4,500. That would be grand. Massive game. Stay up late for 6 Things We Learn. I'll try and get it out as soon as I can, and I'll catch you guys there. Come on, you Blues.